Hi sewing friends, welcome to my sewing room. My name is Beth, and if you're new, welcome. I received a bag of some hexagons. They're not my colors, but they were already cut, so I really couldn't resist trying to figure out how to put them together. Let's get started. I mentioned in my last video that I received a box of sewing goodies, and in the box was a bag of some hexagons that were already cut. And like I said, they're not my color, but they are kind of a challenge because they're already cut, and I hate to see nice fabric going to waste. So these hexagons measure 3.5 inches from one straight side to the other straight side. I took the hexagons out of that little baggie, and I did sew some together before making this video, so you can see that little example there up in the corner. But after figuring out how I was going to put them together, I began by laying them out in groups of 10, so I had an idea of how many I have. When I was done laying them all out in groups of 10 so I could figure out how many I had one hexagon left over, and if I counted correctly, I have 450 hexagons. Here's my little practice piece I made before starting this video to see how I might put these hexagons together. When I joined my hexagons, I did eyeball the 1/4 inch seam. I put 2 dots for the 1/4 inch that I'll show you in just a minute. But if you are not really good at eyeballing, then this is another way that you could mark that 1/4 inch seam. So I traced one of the hexagons onto cardboard, and then in just a minute I'll show you how to take a 1/4 inch off so that we can use this for our guide. After getting my cardboard cut the size of my hexagons, I took a ruler and I used a pencil to draw a 1/4 inch away from the edge. Be cutting off that 1/4 inch so that I can use this to find that 1/4 inch dot on my hexagon. I have seen quilters will draw those 1/4 inch lines on each of their hexagons, but I think this might be a simpler way to mark that 1/4 inch seam. You need to start and stop at the 1/4 inch where those two seams come together, or where those two 1/4 inch lines come together. And you can see my hexagon is not perfect, but it all came together fine. Perfection is not in my skill set, so I did my little dots, and truthfully, you only need 2 dots for each seam. So when I took my 2 hexagons and put right sides together, I'll sew from one dot to the other dot. After getting that first one together and showing you how you could do it with a template, I am going to just be eyeballing that 1/4 inch dot where those 2 1/4 inch lines come together. I'll put right sides together, and I'm going to take a pen and just mark those 2 dots where I begin and end. Now, I need the dots because when I get it under my needle, it is hard to see exactly where that 1/4 inch begins. So the dot helps me start the seam. This dark fabric, I tried using a yellow pencil. That was handy, but in the future I will probably use more of a white chalk pencil, and that will help me be able to see that dot to start and stop my seam. I also wanted to mention that using my Juki sewing machine was really helpful with this project because it has a thread cutter, and the older machines do not have that, and so you would have to pull out your piece every time you sew a seam, and it just would, I think it would be a little more challenging, but it's nice to use the Juki where I can start and stop and cut the threads. And once I had a few rows of hexagons, I'll show you now how I'm going to put them together. Now comes the fiddly part. I put my 2 rows of hexagons together, and I put a dot here at the beginning, but I will be sewing from that dot over to where I started the seam on those hexagons at the bottom there, and I will stop right at that seam. After sewing that first seam, I have to take it out of the machine, and I have to adjust my piece, and I have to get the next set of hexagons together, and I will be going from seam to seam on this one as well. really enjoyed the challenge of figuring out how to put these together, and I was surprised how easily they came together. I did not have much trouble with things not lining up, and it does take time. Just the fact that you have to pull it out of your machine and get everything adjusted every time you put a seam together. But it did come together pretty well, and I really didn't want to let these hexagons go to waste. The hexagons came together really well. I'm very curious to know how the quilter who cut these, how she did it. There are no lines that I can find as far as, if she traced the hexagon on the fabric or if she used some special machine to cut them. They're not perfect, exactly perfect. They're very close to the same size. So I kind of think they were hand done, but they're coming together pretty well, and this is going to be a great quilt. I'll keep sewing these together until I have a nice size quilt top. Thanks for sewing along with me today, and I'll see you next time.